All righty. Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. We've got a few people who need to kind of drop into the webinar here. So we'll give it just a couple minutes to let that happen. In the meantime, we are doing things a little bit different this month for the RL webinar. Peter is on vacation. He takes a big June vacation every year. And so we have the majority of the RL leadership team here with us today. How are you guys doing?
Good, good, good. Good to be here.
Yeah, excited
Well,
to be here as well.
awesome. Well, we'll do some more detailed introductions once we get rolling here, and once everyone kind of drops into the webinar. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Andrew, and I'm the marketing manager here at RL. You've probably seen and heard me a little bit on these webinars before with Peter. I'm kind of behind the scenes, setting them up and going live. But yeah, like I said, Peter's not here today. He's on vacation, so we're going to do our best to kind of run things today. And we have a ton of great content and information ready to share with you. And I'm super excited because it's stuff that we kind of work with and specialize in every single day behind the scenes, making property management company and making sure that your properties, for those of you who are our clients, making sure things run smoothly. So to kind of get rolling with that, the topic today is what does rent ready mean in 2025 and why does it pay and kind of what's your return on investment for getting that right? Right? Because I think we all know that it's important for properties and rental properties to be in good condition, but why and what can we do to really maximize and optimize that? So we'll get rolling with that in just a minute. We still have a few people dropping in. Hello, Jeff. Yeah, if anyone who's here, please say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Jeff says hi to Tiffany. It sounds like you guys have worked together, Tiffany.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Um, but yeah, say hi. Let us know where you're from. We'd love to hear from you, whether you're a client or whether you are someone who got just another one of our emails and you're joining in today. We're happy to have all of you here. We've got Allison from Coldwell Banker. Love it. Welcome everyone. Cool. Well, let's kind of get rolling. Before we really get into the meat of our discussion today, let's do just a little bit of housekeeping here. For those of you joining us for the first time, I kind of want to do just a brief overview of what is this webinar series. Uh, it's all kind of based on our mission at RL, which is to help property owners be successful with their real estate investments, right? And I'm going to share my screen here so everyone can kind of read along. Um, and we polled our customers and our audience, and almost two-thirds of you said that you don't really have the real estate investing knowledge or confidence that you would like to, right? Maybe you have a little, maybe you have some, maybe you have none at all, and that's okay. So the purpose of this webinar series, and we do one of these every month, is to just kind of support the mission, support you, and turn everyone and help educate everyone to become a confident, knowledgeable investor. So that's kind of why we're here. It's kind of why we do this. Um, so yeah, just a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. We'll do those team introductions and for everyone here, like I mentioned, we're going to do just a couple brief company updates. And then we're going to really dive in and talk about what it means to be rent ready, the cost of being mostly ready or 80% ready, maybe some financial legal consequences of not having a property in tip-top shape when you rent it out. And then we'll go over our process, how we deliver kind of fast, high quality turns and what that means for you, whether you're our client or whether you maybe want to become a client and some of those results. So introductions. Who are we? Just a little overview here. We are the leadership team. We're most of the leadership team. Our VP of operations, Brennan, is not with us, and Lauren, our operations manager, is not with us. But we've got myself, Andrew Swenson, marketing manager, and Tiffany. Do you want to start and just give a little brief introduction for yourself?
Sure. As you know, my name's Tiffany Haynes. I've been with RL. It'll be 10 years in October. Um, I am the vacant unit manager, so what that means is the property is with me while it is being turned, as well as while it's listed for rent. I have some staff members that help out with that. But I started out as the admin assistant and just worked my way through different positions at RL, and yeah, just happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiff. Kat, or Michael, sorry. You want to go next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael McKibben. I'm the maintenance manager. I handle all the technicians who go out to your properties to do inspections, occupied work, as well as all the turn work that we do here at RL. I've been with the company for about 9.5, 10 months, and really love working with RL and fall in line with our high standards that we want to provide the best possible work we can for all of your units.
Awesome.
And hi, I'm Catherine Lowe. I am the business development manager. So that means that I'm working with potential clients to grow our owners and make sure that we're the right fit for you and answering any questions along the way.
Love it. I love it. And I see Lauren's picture is here, but I think she's just kind of sitting in the background. I think she has another meeting going on. So if you want to say hi, Lauren, chime in. If not, no worries. Um, Great. Well, there's introductions for us. So thank you, everyone. A real quick company update. We share this every month in our webinar. It's our company scorecard because we believe in transparency, right? We want to let you know how we are doing, how the company is going, and we share some stats, whether they're good or bad, whether they're going up or down in a positive or negative direction. We want to be transparent. We want you to know how things are going here. So this is updates for June. I just updated this yesterday. A couple things that I wanted to point out is a steady increase in the average rent, which is amazing for all you rental owners. We've seen that going up very steadily for the last several months. We've also seen the percent of the rent collected by the fifth. Again, that average kind of going up steadily over the last few months. So both of those are awesome, great for you as property owners and clients. And our resident satisfaction is steady at 4.8 out of 5. So those are a few highlights I wanted to make, a few of the most significant updates there. But yeah, you can always find this on our website and see the updates as they come. So just one thing I want to touch on really quick is if you have any questions during this webinar, if there's anything you want to chime in and say or ask us, please feel free to do that in the chat. There's also a Q&A section. You can put them there. And we're kind of loosey-goosey here, so we'll interrupt whoever's here and or whoever's talking, and we'll get your questions answered. Wow, we have one right off the bat here. What is the average tenant turn cost? So I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that later, but does anyone have an answer for that right off the bat?
So right now our average turn cost is anywhere between 2,500 to 4,500, just depending on how long the tenant has been at the property. Our average tenancy is right around 4.5 years. So yeah, it's between that amount, just depending on how long the tenant has been there.
Excellent. Thank you, Tiffany. Great. Well, let's kind of let's get into it. Let's dive in, and I want to kind of begin with the why of being rent ready. And I want to pose this as a question, which is like, how do I know if my property is truly rent ready or it just looks to be ready, right? And this is the foundation of a lot of what we're going to talk about today and kind of ties everything together. And a little hint there, it's not just about the way it looks. It's important that today's renters, really expect pretty high standards, and that ties into your ROI, how satisfied they are, right? So again, we'll dive into that. But as RL clients, you all of you who are clients own properties that we manage, right? And some of those are single family homes, might be duplexes, it might be a larger apartment building or a larger rental portfolio. But no matter what your portfolio looks like, I think one of the most important and often overlooked factors is that drives property success is that rent ready status, right? And team chime in here if I'm getting this wrong, but I think what that really means when we say rent ready, it's the overall condition of the property and how likely it is that it will attract and maintain quality residents, quality tenants, and maybe most importantly to you here is how that affects your ROI and how much money you're making off of this investment, which is kind of the goal of owning investment properties, right? So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I'm gonna turn this over to Kat to kind of dive into that. How does rent ready tie into that return on investment ROI strategy?
Thanks, Andrew. And I agree with you. Everything you said was right on. So these are kind of the key topics that Tiffany and Michael are going to dive deeper on. So I'm just introducing what the headlines are and what we're going to be discussing, which is what does rent ready mean? Really digging deeper into that so you can have an understanding of our expectations and why that's important. Getting an understanding of what is the difference between being truly rent ready and mostly rent ready, and what costs are associated with being mostly rent ready and not going the full distance. And then lastly, we're going to just reiterate the benefits to being rent ready, which is your cash flow, building asset value, and better tenant outcomes. So Tiffany is up next to talk about what is rent ready.
Yeah, so in 2025, the expectations, especially in the Columbus market and surrounding areas, has changed quite a bit. Tenants are expecting to get every penny worth of their rent. So when we're talking about what the standard is that they're expecting the property to be up to date. They're expecting it to be in physical great condition, expected to be clean, well-maintained, fresh paint. The flooring should be up to date. If there's carpet, there should be no stains from previous pets or just spills. There should be no smells. It should just appear to be fresh, ready to move in. When they're viewing the property, we always say there's about three things that will automatically turn a prospective tenant away. If they're seeing things on the walls, stains on the floors, or have a smell, they're automatically turned off, and they're usually just ready to end the showing at that point. So when we're saying rent ready, we're meaning turnkey. So when we are listing the property, it is basically ready for someone to apply and move in right away. It's safe, it's clean, we have fresh locks, great curb appeal. When they arrive, the lawn is freshly manicured. It's just completely ready to go. Our listings stand out from any other listing. So when it's listed for rent, that picture that they're seeing should be the same exact picture that they see when they get to the property. Appliances are up to date. They're not super old, but they also, if the property is a little older, stainless steel appliances might not look the best, but we want it to present the best. So if someone is paying upward of $2,000 in rent, they're expecting the appliances to be up to date. They're expecting the property to definitely reflect 2025. And so some of the things that we ask owners when they're contemplating, becoming one of our clients, or sometimes just having a refresher with some of our current clients, is, would you live there if the property didn't appear to be freshly painted and there were nicks and things on the walls? Would you send a loved one to live there? Would you advertise this property with pride? And so those are some of the things that we ask owners as we're preparing to turn the property, and help them better understand of why we have such high standards, because it's going to get you better quality tenants, it's going to get you better quality applicants, and they're going to get you tenants that want to stay longer. And so those are some of the, what it means to have a high standard as far as listing your property for rent in 2025.
Awesome. I love that. And, kind of imagining the flip side of that, which is something that isn't quite ready. Maybe it's considered good enough, whatever it is. I think something that we need to consider is the financial impact of that, maybe on our tenants, maybe on the residents, but mostly for the owner, right? So let's talk a little bit about some of those financial impacts of things being maybe not quite there, maybe good enough, but not, top tier standards. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so sometimes when I'm having calls with owners regarding turns, we'll have the conversation of, hey, maybe we'll hold off on this. I feel like this is good enough. I went to the property and I feel like maybe the painting is okay for now. Maybe we'll revisit it, and I'll once we get some feedback. I like to say things are already paid for, whether you pay for them now or you pay for them later. And so every day a vacancy is going to cost you. And that's a day that you're not receiving rent. It's a day that the property is sitting vacant. You're not only not receiving rent, now you're having to pay utilities on it. You're also having to make sure that the lawn is manicured, make sure that the property is still staying clean. You're paying for an occupancy check on it, because we do vacant unit checks every other week. So these are things that are just adding up. And we don't want to put those costs on our owners. We want to get the property leased as soon as possible. to great quality tenants. And which brings me to the next point. Great quality tenants are choosing quality units. They want to be able to walk in and imagine themselves there. And they don't want to walk in and say, oh, well, I see that that still needs to be repaired. That might need to be repaired. They want to walk in and see this unit is ready to go. I don't have to reach out to somebody and say, hey, are you going to fix this? Are you going to fix that? They just want to be ready to move in. And those kind of tenants, they stay longer. Like I said earlier, our average tenancy is around 4.5 years. And so
Mhm.
you're not having to turn your property over every year because the property didn't present well. And then you attract tenants who aren't necessarily wanting to take care of your property. They cycle out. They're looking for discounts because the property is not, presenting well. So, and then again, higher turnover, which we don't want that for you. We want tenants to stay, want to get really good quality tenants for you that stay in the property longer and take care of your property.
Right, right. And so, and I think this speaks to um, a point of like, so maybe it's worth a $6,000 investment up front to keep someone there for 4 years so that it's not
Mhm.
$10,000 after, $2,500
Right,
a year over 4 years, right? Like that
right.
that
Mhm.
larger upfront investment can really pay off in the long run, because of exactly what you described, that cycle
Mhm.
of people just staying longer, right? And fewer
Yes.
turns. Awesome.
Sometimes there is a bigger upfront cost,
Hmm.
especially when the property hasn't been rented before or the property hasn't, it's been rented for quite some time, like maybe 7 to 10 years. It's been in the same tenant. So investing that money in and it will come back one way or another to you. So initially putting that money, especially when it comes to painting sometimes is a big cost.
Mm-hmm.
But RL does partner with PPG paint, so we are able to, once we do paint there now, the next time we paint, if we're using our paint with PPG, we will have a less paint cost coming to you on the next turn.
Right, right. So that's awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. So we've kind of talked what it means. We've kind of talked about the financial impact. I kind of want to zoom in, and Michael, maybe you can help us do this here as our maintenance director. As far as the physical condition of a property, what are some things that maybe kind of disqualify a unit from being rent ready that you see, maybe that you see more the most often, but also just common things that people should watch out for?
As Tiffany mentioned, paint is always a huge one.
Mm,
So that is one that we always, I know Tiffany talks about, and when we do our pre-move out inspections, or if you bring on a new unit before you bring that new unit on, we will do a full inspection so you know what the scope looks like. Um, if paint is necessary, we're always going to suggest it. And as Tiffany said, we have partnered with PPG to get heavy discounts on paint, which we pass on to you as the owner. And as we are able to use those year in and year out, we go from multiple coats of paint to one coat of paint, which of course saves a lot of money. But it is a high priority. We have had that issue in the past where maybe the paint wasn't the best, and that can deter a great tenant. Other things, broken fixtures, outdated blinds or dingy blinds, if they've been there for a long time, we'll want to replace those. And in any of these situations, we're always going to find high quality products for the best possible price. We partner with a lot of different vendors and companies that give us heavy discounts that, again, we pass on to our owners, because our number one priority, as everyone has already stated, is best possible condition for your home so we can get the best possible tenant who's going to stay the longest and keep up with that home. Um, some other things, just to be in city code for Columbus, we have to have the detectors. We have a high detector standard that all of our technicians are highly aware of, and we'll take care of that in inspections and on turn scopes, move-in readies, you name it. We're going to make sure we are at city code. Hand railing can come up from time to time where maybe it's good enough, maybe it's we can reset it, but also Do we want to make sure that we have the best railing that actually matches, goes with everything inside the home so there is a flow? We want to make sure when we're doing all this work, I always tell people, imagine you're the one moving in there. This is going to be your new home. You want them to be able to walk in when they're doing a showing and just be like, this can be my home. I can put my imprint on this. So we, as the maintenance department, I challenge all of our technicians for that. Like when you are doing all this work in there, treat it like your own home. You want to finish a turn and be excited for the person that gets to move in there because you've done such quality work and you know they have a great home to move into. Um, and that goes into if we are doing lesser quality while we're in there, if we're not doing all the painting, we're not doing all these little extras that will really take us a level up and be able to get that quality tenant. I know with Tiffany, she'll talk about sometimes it's going to take longer to rent. And the last thing we want is for your home to sit empty. We work very hard to do the turn scope, have the call, get the funding, get the turn done, get the pictures, get it listed. We want that turnaround to be as quick as possible. It actually, as of today, that's down to 12 business days, which is
Wow.
a great testament to Tiffany and her team getting the homes back on the market. So we want to keep those numbers as low as possible, and part of that is keeping that to a high standard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have a couple questions that are kind of in line with this that Kat answered in the chat, but let's speak to them here as well. So what does RL charge for repairs and what's kind of the prevailing hourly rate for that?
As Kat put in there, we charge $84 an hour for our technicians. So all the quotes that we send over has that incorporated into whatever work we're performing. Uh,
Hmm.
and then we pass on the cost for any materials that are used.
And then are those inspections, how often, how many times a year do those happen for each property?
We do quarterly inspections, preferably. We do have some owners that prefer every 6 months, which we completely understand. We prefer quarterly because it gives us a better snapshot of what's going on in each home on a more regular basis, um, just to make sure the tenants are keeping it up to RL standard. And if they're not, then that provides us the opportunity to have a conversation with our owners about what's going on and what we need to do. And all of our owners have access to all of those photos as well. So it keeps you informed. You know what's going on inside the home that you own, and we're all on the same page, and we can keep moving forward together.
Awesome. Love that. Cool. Well, we got some good questions coming here. What about painting? Is that hourly too?
That is, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and that's why we encourage moving to our PPG paints. No, not only is it severely discounted versus just going to Lowe's, we're paying about a third of the cost per gallon by utilizing PPG. They give us heavy discounts for that, and it's quality paint as well.
Mm,
But over time, that'll cut down on the hours that we have to invest to repaint if we're using the same paints over and over. And we use stock paints that are pretty basic so that when a person moves in there, they can, again, kind of envision what their home's going to look like and they can
mm.
put their own spin on it.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a lot of thought really goes into kind of the systems and the processes that go into getting these properties into rent ready standards. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Some of these systems, specifically with turn scopes and how we communicate, and kind of the behind the scenes stuff that really feeds this rent ready process.
Okay. So we use a wide variety of systems to get ahead of these things, but we have something called Airtable that will notify us 30 to 60 days before a tenant moves out so that we are ready to go ahead and do that pre-move out inspection. So we moved to that recently, and this was a great idea on Tiffany's part that really has revolutionized things for us and allows us to get the turn done and back on the market and get it rented out incredibly quickly. So we do that before that. So we know what it's going to look like. We know what needs to be fixed and what needs to be done. That allows Tiffany also to make sure the tenants cover their fair share of the cost of if there was any damage or anything like that. So that takes away cost out of your pocket as an owner. Also, she gets to have these conversations with you weeks before the tenant moves out, gives you time to prepare for any additional funding you may need to cover that turn. So we're all on the same page, we're prepped, we're ready to go. So then the day that they turn in their keys, that next day we can go start that turn. And then we can get it done as quickly as possible. And as soon as it's done, we get cleaning done, we get pictures, and it's listed back on the market. And we use another system that holds all of our photos. If you're a current owner, you've seen Tiffany send over those links when you go over turn scopes, so you know exactly what it looks like. We do the same thing for what's called a move-in ready. So once we have that unit rented out, a few days before they move in, we're going to go do that inspection, see if there's anything else that needs to be done. Sometimes, light bulbs go out, detectors lose battery power, things like that over time. And we also provide those pictures as well. So we know exactly what the condition of the home is before the tenant moves out, after they move out, and before the new one moves in. So we have all that information. We're providing all that to you so you can be as invested as you want into it. Or if we need to reference it later, if there's some kind of damage or an argument about what has happened when, we have all that proof. That helps protect you as an owner, protect us as a company. And also when I talk to tenants about this, it protects them because if something does happen, we're going to have the proof. And so the truth will be there with our photos, with our detailed notes. We use another program called Meld, and that's where all of our information is put in there by our technicians. Tiffany's team puts all that turn scope in there. Every detail is listed in there. Our technicians put everything that they do every single day, along with pictures to corroborate. They put in their expenditures, all that kind of stuff. So we use a wide variety of different programs that all interlock and interlink with each other, so we can get ahead of things, be prepared. And then it also allows us, if there are situations where we find something extra or this ended up taking a little longer, allows us to communicate very quickly and get with you as the owner so you know what's going on in real time.
Awesome. I love that, Michael. Thank you. And Allison had asked, do you have a checklist of these things, right, that you check on before you take on a new unoccupied unit? Kat answered that in the chat. Yeah, we do. We can send you a copy of that. If anyone else is interested in a copy of that, please let us know. Put your email here in the chat or message your email directly to Kat, and she'll send that over to you. So that you can kind of look at that. And I think that's important for some of the people here on the webinar who maybe aren't our current clients, and who do self-manage. We love sharing that information, right? Whether you work with us or not. And it's, having those systems and processes in place is really important, and those checklists are super important. Also good information for our current clients, right? To know kind of what goes in behind the scenes every time we're working on these, or we see a turn that does cost some money, how much work is going into those. So
yeah, the thing we have is it's called a turn scope, and it is incredibly detailed. Tiffany can definitely speak on this because she has to go through them and really dive into them. It takes the couple of guys that we have that do these turn scopes. It takes them between 2.5 to 3.5 hours to do the full inspection, take all those photos. Usually it's 200 to 400 photos per home, interior and exterior, incredibly detailed notes. That way we're not missing anything. We are very detail oriented, and we have these systems set up that allow us to be. And then Tiffany and her team take all that information, and then what you see on your end is been filtered from our inspector through Tiffany's team to get to you with everything that's necessary.
Awesome. And kind of in line with that, and Kat, I might put you on the spot here a little bit. This isn't in our slides, or wasn't in our original plan, but we recently implemented, rather than a turn that happens with a current client in between tenancies, we recently added a process with pre-inspections, right? So before we take on a new property, and before you even sign up with us, for those of you who aren't clients, we do offer pre-inspections to give you a sense of what it would take to get up to rent-ready standards. If you're interested in working with us, Kat, can you speak a little bit to kind of what is involved in that pre-inspection, the process, and maybe how it's different in detail or in scope from a turn?
Yeah. So it happens, like you mentioned, before you ever come on as a client. So we're really striving for full transparency. Michael kind of broke down the timing expectations and what our team is doing. They're going in and they're taking 200 plus photos. They spend like 3 hours in the property. They walk the entire interior and exterior, and they're really looking into the nitty gritty to make sure that we are able to capture anything that needs to be done to meet our rent ready standards, and so that we can then have a conversation with you to review that, and ensure that our expectations align. We never want you to feel trapped or like there's some kind of gotcha, like you signed an agreement and then, you had this really expensive turn or there were things you weren't expecting. So that's the whole idea around the process, is just transparency, and the ability to know what it would cost before you ever, sign our management agreement.
Excellent. Thanks, Kat. A question here from Jeff. Timing of a turnover can't be predicted, but as a percentage of annual rent, what would you suggest an owner budget or reserve for a rent-ready turnover cost? I'll open that one up to anyone who has an answer.
I think that is determined also by how old the property is. There's a certain percentage. I know that we have a document on this. I might have to email it to you, Jeff. That we have a suggestion of what you should save each year, just depending on how old the property is. I can get that sent to you.
So earlier when we said that the average range is between 2,500 and what did you say, 4,500? Is that right, Tiffany?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to err on the side of caution with that, you could go for maybe $3,500, $4,500 as a reserve. But again, if like Tiffany said, if the property is older, it might even be a little bit more than that. That's just kind of the average there. So awesome. Okay, great. Well, moving along here, and these are great questions. Please keep these coming. We're happy to stay here as long as we need to and answer these. We love it. Let's talk more about those quarterly inspections.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about when it's vacant and what we do to get you rent ready. And my team, a huge focus of my team is, what do we do when it's occupied? We want to, as it says on number 4, always market ready. So our goal is to keep the units at that level while the tenants are in there. So a big part of that, as I discussed earlier, is the inspections that we do on a quarterly basis. Again, we love doing them on a quarterly basis because that gives us a more scope inside of the home to see exactly what's going on, as well as the exterior, because not unlike our turn scope inspections, we inspect the full exterior and interior. Part of what we also do there is we check all of the detectors while we're in there and make sure that they're all functioning properly. We're going to run every sink. We're going to flush every toilet. We're going to run the shower. We're going to look under every sink. We're going to test all the appliances. We're going to make sure everything's working properly the way it should. And again, we're going to take pictures while we're in there. We say 6 to 8 pictures per room. It's not going to be as in-depth as a turn scope, but again, we're looking for the ability to look at these pictures and say, okay, I feel like I know what's going on inside of this home. And if there are any particular issues, we're going to take extra pictures and we're going to notate that. And then we're going to make suggestions in the inspection form that we have. That way, if there are things that need to be taken care of and it is a tenant responsibility, we're going to take care of it while they're living there and we're going to get it fixed. And then again, one less thing for you to have to worry about on a turn, and also taking responsibility for the tenant while they're there, paying for those things, and then keeping your home at a market ready standard. It is vital for us as well as for you that we do that on a regular basis. And also, as the number 3 here says, provides proof of upkeep for insurance, sales, and lease renewals. So if other things happen and you need this information, you always have it at your disposal. It's always going to be available for you to see all the pictures, see the information. The job forms are available to you every time we do an inspection, so you know exactly what's going on. It keeps you in the loop and as involved as you want to be. And then also, if we do have issues and we're having issues with a tenant, it allows us to reach out to you, provide information, pictures. This is what's going on. How would you like to handle this? That way we're on the same page and we're aligned as we keep moving forward.
Awesome. I love that. And for everyone who is requesting copies of all these resources we've talked about so far, we can send those to you. I'm also just going to include them in our follow-up email. So we'll send out an email with a replay of the webinar that you can rewatch and dig into some of this information again, but we'll also include those PDFs and documents and resources as well. So excellent. Thank you, Michael. So far we've really talked about what we as a property management company, RL, and even self-managing landlords can control internally, right? Your systems and processes, the costs associated with that, how often you do inspections, what turns look like, what those rent-ready standards are. But let's zoom out a little bit and kind of talk about what we can't control, which are things like laws and programs and legal compliance and things that kind of like the standards that renters expect, but also just kind of like those standards that renters expect are always changing, right? What they expect in 2025 is different than a year ago, 5 years ago. Those laws are always changing as well. So let's dive into a little bit of that legal compliance, some of the housing laws, and how that affects all of this, right?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. As far as recent housing laws that have changed, we really haven't had too many. The main one is our Section 8 that has changed probably around a year and a half ago. As far as it has to be a source of income that anyone in Columbus that is renting a unit has to accept as a form of income. And so RL, of course, does follow the law to a T when it comes to any housing laws, fair housing laws. So we do accept Section 8 for all of there's zip codes. There's a long list of zip codes that we have to accept it for. And so that is always included in our listings as well. However, we expect anyone who does have Section 8 still does have to meet our requirements for credit, rental history, eviction, criminal, all of that. It's just we have to accept the Section 8 voucher as a source of income. When it comes to CMHA, there has been some changes. They were working solely with a company called CGI, which they have recently phased out. And so CMHA has basically taken back over. So the timings and changes as far as like inspections, because once it is approved, once we approve an application, they have to come in, we have to fill out what we call an RTA packet. They have to take it right down to have that approved, and they're able to get it approved that same day. And once that is approved, then that gets the inspection clock starting. They have 2 weeks to reach out to us to schedule an inspection. And then that inspection happens. Sometimes there are things that they expect to that doesn't normally fall within what our scope of work is as far as having rent ready, but they have certain things that they have on their inspection list that we have to complete. So we might have to go back in and make those repairs. But normally, most of the time we pass the inspection on the first time, and the tenant is able to then move in within 24 hours of that pass time. Sometimes Section 8 is a little slow. We stay on them. We have processes in place where at a certain day, if they don't reach out to us, we're reaching out to them as far as scheduling the inspection. And even if there's a lag in getting the RTA packet approved, we reach out the very next day to see what is going on with that approval as well. The biggest issue that we have is them then starting to issue payment, because there is a lag time with that as well. Sometimes it is between 30 and sometimes even longer, 30 days or longer until we receive the first payment. It's out of our control. Lauren Begley, our operations manager, has done a phenomenal job with getting them to pay a lot faster, because we've had some issues in the past with that. And it was because they were changing out between CGI and CMHA. So we had to do a lot of working together in order to get that back on track. We're really hopeful that with all of the progress we've made with CMHA, that will continue. But it's just something that we like to make our owners aware of. We can't legally tell them, no, we can't accept it, because that would get us in a lot of trouble. So that is the main change as far as housing laws in 2025 is the big change with CMHA.
And Tiffany, are there any particular cities or areas kind of in the main Columbus metro area that that's more relevant or even necessary or required for? Is it kind of unanimous across the county in the area, or are there any cities that stand out that investors might want to watch out for when
Um,
considering this?
mhm. If you're not wanting to have CMHA be accepted, that the property would need to just be in a surrounding suburb like Hilliard or Dublin, those are not required to be considered for a housing voucher. But there is a long list that you can get from the CMHA website of what zip codes that they accept the voucher in and that we would legally have to accept the voucher in. Um, so I would definitely reference that list if that's what you're trying to stay away from.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. And we'll include that link in our follow-up email as well. So keep an eye out for that. Um, Excellent. Anything else on that, Tiffany?
The other thing, as far as a new law is that for Columbus, there is the option of breaking your deposit up into payments. It could be 1, 3, or 6.
Hmm.
So we have to offer that legally in Columbus,
Just in the city of Columbus.
just the city of Columbus,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha. Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, I think that's about it. We'll wrap up here with just kind of an overview of everything we talked about today and some reminders for everyone. Um, rent ready standards are not kind of definitive. It's not a checklist, but it is an investment strategy. And we treat it like a checklist, right? And it's very much built into our systems, and it should be too if you take this kind of thing seriously. But it is an investment strategy, right? It directly impacts your return on investment. It directly impacts your cash flow and how well your properties succeed, short term, but also over time. And going back to that cycle that Tiffany talked about, right? Better tenants means fewer surprises, means a longer property lifespan and more consistent income coming from that. So, using standardized professional terms, systems and processes, all of that helps protect and grow your investment. And all of that kind of contributes to our mission here at RL, which is helping property owners be successful with their investments and taking care of their properties, right? So, Allison, you beat me to it. I was going to ask for any final questions before we wrap up today. Allison asked, have you done a session on property management versus DIY yet? I don't think we have, Allison, but that's a great idea. I'll put that on our list and we can definitely add that to the series if that's a topic you're interested in. If anyone else is interested in that same topic, please give a shout out here in the chat and we'll definitely move that up. And for next month, I don't have a link ready yet for the next webinar to register, but I'll send that out in the follow-up email as well. Next month, we are going to be talking about how to find properties to buy as new investments and as investments, negotiating to buy those, and then the process of getting a loan and a lot of the things that go into that. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us today, for contributing, for asking such great questions. Thank you, team, for joining and sharing so much great information and valuable information. Is there anything else anyone wants to say here before we kind of wrap up?
Bob did ask if we could repeat the security deposit payments
Yeah,
for.
I just put it in the web chat, but they can either pay in full, pay in 3 installments, and what we do is we put that on the ledger for the tenant to pay with their rent. So it's pay in full, 3 payments, or 6 payments.
You may have already spoken to this, Tiffany. How long has that been in place?
It's been in place for about a year and a half as well.
Okay. And how many people, how many of our tenants or
Mhm.
residents use that option, would you say?
It's about 50%.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So a good option that it sounds like a lot of residents really like.
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Well, anyone else? Kat, Michael, Tiffany, anything else you want to say today?
Nope.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone again. And we do this the last Wednesday of every month. So our next webinar, again, that topic being how to find, buy, and negotiate for new investments and properties will be on, I believe, July 30th. So we'll send out a link to register for that. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thank you, team, for being here. This has been great. We'll send out that replay. We'll send out some of those resources, and we will see you next month.
Bye. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.